Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Writers Toolshed. Today we have a very special episode for you. You can call it our holiday special. I've got two special guests with me here. This is JM, and as you heard in the last episode, if you're following along with us, Richie and I have a brand new business venture that we started out, Of Metal and Magic Publishing. And now this podcast is going to be officially sponsored by Of Metal and Magic Publishing. You can actually find a page on our website where we link to this podcast and have the latest and greatest episodes. For today, we're doing a virtual fireside chat in front of the virtual fireplace with a couple of the other Of Metal and Magic authors. We've got E.A. Robbins and Douglas W.T. Smith with me today. They both are working on novels that we are going to be published in our core setting of Soria, along with books, my book and Richie's book coming out next year. So I figured it'd be good just to sit down and have a chat with everyone and see what's going on for next year. Good way to wrap up the end of the year for this podcast. So how are you guys doing? How are you doing, EA?
Oh, excuse me. Hi, happy to be here. Yeah, things are moving forward and ready for 2020 to be done.
Yeah, I second the motion. And
Yep,
Douglas?
Not the. Yeah, going good down here in Australia on holidays. So yeah, I can sit back and relax and get some writing done and some editing done.
So that's
bring 2021 on.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a good point. We mention it a lot, but we haven't really talked about it much. That the people that work for OMAM, all of our writers and our kind of budding staff are from all over the world, right? So I am American by blood, but I've lived in Korea, South Korea, not North Korea. You can't imagine how many people ask me that question. Which Korea do you live in? Not the crazy one. So I'm an American by blood, but I live in South Korea. I've been here for about 11 years. And then, Doug, where do you live?
I live in a little northern town along the coast of New South Wales in Australia. It's called Port Macquarie, and I grew up here. I've moved around the east coast of Australia a fair bit. But yeah, back at home and love living on the coast.
And what about you, EA?
Well, so actually the same as you, JM. American by birth, East Coast American. And I'm also living here in South Korea. I wouldn't say it's not the crazy one, but I've been here for 9 years, almost a decade.
I did not realize you'd been here that long.
Yeah, I'm putting my time in.
And then other folks who are not here with us today, Chris Brock is America and living in America. I think he's somewhere in the Midwest hiding. And Richie Billing is going to join us shortly. He is from the UK. And we've got other people that write for us and support us. So, for example, I have a person that I met through blogging. His name is Masato Morikabe, and he's from South Africa, and he's written some stuff from us, and he's going to actually be giving us a couple short stories. I'm working with him to get a couple short stories, and just several other folks. So we've got this weird international menagerie going on here, which I think is kind of nice. It does make the Zoom meetings a little bit more difficult, though.
Mm. Well, it helps that you both are in Korea, so that, and it's only 2 hour difference between Australia, so that helps a lot.
Yeah, so I think everybody just needs to move to Asia Pacific, and we'll be good.
Yeah, let's make that happen. We'll just pack up and move over.
We could all just relocate to some tropical island like Saipan or something.
Oh, I'm in. Hands down. I'm ready. Bags are packed. Let's go. Oh, especially after this year with no traveling. Like, I'm ready.
I'm not a big traveler, but yeah, it has been getting me. Like the one thing that I liked was hopping over to Japan and like real ramen and bringing home real ramen. And
well, fortunately enough, Australia's pretty big, so we could still travel, but and stay within the country. So we're pretty lucky in that sense.
So to kick things off, why don't you guys introduce yourself? Just kind of give us a background on you as a writer. How'd you get started in writing? What kind of things do you like to write? And just kind of your any personal projects that aren't associated necessarily with Of Metal and Magic. If you got a website, you can plug your website, those kind of things. I'll start with you, Doug, since we met a good while ago.
Yeah.
So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, well, as Jay mentioned before, my pen name is Douglas W.T. Smith. I'm an Australian fantasy writer. And we did meet a few years ago. It was actually the end of 2018. I just finished my university degree in creative writing and English literature. And I'd finished a couple of rounds of edits of my first novel. And while I was doing that, I was just posting on my website, which is www.dwtsmith.com. And that's where you contacted me, JM, to see if I wanted to be a part of this Of Metal and Magic shared universe by Fiction Vortex. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. it was by chance that I was just doing what I thought, sharing writing tips and hints that I've been using along the way. And yeah, so
Richie and I have reiterated on this podcast the importance of building connections and networking and whatnot, just like any other profession, right? Like it's all about who you know, and the more connections you build, the stronger you are in the end. How did you get started in writing?
It kind of started when it was a few years ago. It would have been 2015, 2016. I was just talking to a friend. We're both playing Skyrim, and we're talking about how awesome Skyrim is. And he mentioned to me if I had seen The Lord of the Rings, and I did when they first originally came out. And I couldn't really remember, and he suggested that we should rewatch it. So we rewatched it, loved it, fell in love with it. And then I completely got stuck into the lore of Tolkien's world. And so I read all his books. Then I kind of just had that moment of maybe I could create a world where like characters are put through these events and these trials, and I don't know. It just felt like the thing to do at the time. So I looked into, and I just happened to start studying at university, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And then that moment happened, and I looked into creative writing, and it felt like it was the natural thing to do. So I changed my majors into creative writing and went from there. But I'd always been interested in English and reading when I was younger. Through high school, I was quite comfortable with my English. So not English as in the language, but as in English as in creative writing, creating stories, and reading novels. So I always felt pretty comfortable with that, the storytelling component of English. So it just felt natural once I saw that I could change my major to creative writing to be able to do it.
So other than Skyrim, Lord of the Rings, since then, what any other big kind of fantasy influences or things that book series that you really like?
Yeah, I think a series that doesn't get enough light as it should is Tad Williams' Memory, Thorn and Sorrow saga. It pretty much influenced Game of Thrones. It has so many elements that are pretty much exactly the same. You've got the northern, I guess, undead invading the humans of the world. There's apart from that, like there's so many. Sorry, not apart, but that and so many other things are so similar to Game of Thrones. It's uncanny. And I read that before I watched Game of Thrones and stuff, and that definitely influenced my writing. But then you've also got the classics like Raymond E. Feast and The Magician, which heavily influenced my, I guess, my coming of age component of my stories. Then I think they're probably the two major books and authors that have influenced my writing presently.
Okay. Well, thanks for that introduction, and same questions for you. Yay.
So how I got started in writing, and okay, well, for me, I've always kind of been into writing. I was the kid with the blank paper and the, 4 or 5 words per page and drawing my own little storybook kind of thing. And then in high school, very into poetry, weren't we all? And did that. And actually, I discovered a very deep passion for words and the weight of them. And there's a weight and an implication to every word, and I really kind of delved into that through poetry, and that was something that just kind of moved me. And it moved me to grad school, where the love of writing was completely burned out of me, and I didn't do it for many years. And then also, rather by chance, I forget how I started following JM. I don't know if it was maybe a shared beta reader site on Facebook, or
I think it was one of the expat communities here in Korea.
Oh, okay, that was probably it. That
I was
sounds much more
reaching out
logical.
to see who else was writing, and you were like, "Yeah, I'm trying."
Oh, I wasn't, but you put this thing out, and you were like, we need somebody to write a short story, and I was like,
Oh yeah, it was the anthology.
Mm-hmm.
So you've
So
got.
I emailed you.
You've got a story in the what we call now the Ancient Heritage Volume 1. You've got a short story in there, and that's something that we have worked out from a previous. It was originally published in a previous anthology, and we just kind of co-opt it for new purposes. So, yeah, that's how it all came about.
Yeah, and that was pretty much me jumping into the deep end of fiction writing. I knew it was something I wanted to do, but I figured it wasn't something I was going to do until, I don't know, I was much older. When that free time for new hobbies comes around, like it always does, right?
Yeah. We've talked about a lot on the podcast that I think the difference between an average writer and a good writer, a lot of folks will get started writing just because they want to tell a story, and they're fixated on story and and plot and character and these grander things. But in order to be a good writer, you have to also focus on the sentence level and the words. Like, right, you need to have, like you said, the appreciation for specific words. I did a little bit of rap in high school and college, and that's where I developed my appreciation for individual words and how switching out one individual word can fundamentally change,
Everything.
a project or a product. And that carries with me today as a writer, that you need to have an expansive vocabulary, and you need to be able to notice when a word is out of place, and you need to have, in the back of your head, options of how to change it, because every word does count. Even in a novel of 100,000 words, every single one of those words matters. And I think that's one of the things that makes the difference between a good, very good writer and just an average writer is word level focus. Sorry to derail you there for a second. So
can I add to that as well?
Yeah.
I think what also separates a great writer and I guess a successful writer is discipline. I feel that you can have your this broad vocabulary, know your storyline, but if you don't have that discipline to pursue that craft, it just goes nowhere. And I feel like discipline's a huge play on another element on top of. Sorry if these birds are really loud. I don't know if you can hear them.
I was wondering what those were.
Yeah, because
I didn't know if it was a dog or if it was your baby, your big 20 news.
No, there's a tree out the front of my window, and they just hang in the tree all day, just talking.
Shut up!
I know. It's quite beautiful, but shut up.
Yeah. Well, at least now I can tell. At least now I can say that it's not a technical glitch on my part that I didn't clean up.
Yeah.
It's natural ambiance of Australia.
It is, and it just happens to be a magpie too.
The flock of birds, the sound of koalas chewing, and the pitter patter of giant spider feet.
While riding our kangaroo pouches to work.
Yeah. So like you said, EA, you kind of got started doing writing. I guess you'd call it professionally since you got published. You started this recently. So where are you at now as a writer?
So writing is kind of this old passion that I'm getting back into in a different way with fiction writing. The love has always been there. I've been a reader my whole life. I'm a voracious reader. I've always got 2 or 3 different books open at varying stages. And writing just kind of feels like a very natural thing to do. Fiction writing does have this learning curve for me. It definitely takes more patience than I needed with poetry. That just kind of flowed for me. The words, I don't know, came to me. This sounds very hippy dippy, but that's kind of how it works. Where fiction, I can sit and think, and I use the thesaurus a lot because I end up repeating myself with such a longer piece of writing, but it's almost more rewarding, I want to say, in the end. So yeah, I've kind of jumped into this with both feet. I even made my own website, www.earobbins.com. It is also in a fledgling state. So if anybody visits that, of course, say hi and let me know what you think, kindly, please. Social media has been another thing that I've been getting into. So I've been doing the Instagram and the Facebook, and it's not just the writing when you get into writing. Like I thought I could just write these stories and pass them around and other people would just make it happen. That's really not it at all. There's a lot of other legwork a lot of other projects that you need to take on if you want to be a writer, a fiction writer. So this is kind of what I've been learning in the past year, really. Yeah.
So we're also joined today by the other half of the Toolshed, Richie Billing. So Richie and I have talked about our backgrounds before a lot, but just to rehash, give us a quick, your background as a writer, Richie.
Yeah, so I got into writing in quite kind of a weird way, really. I was a lawyer before I do what I do now for about 4 or 5 years, but I was getting really fed up with it, and it just wasn't really interesting or exciting me. I just kind of wanted to do something a bit more worthwhile. I think around the same time I started writing just for pleasure, really. Just had a few ideas floating around my head, so I started writing them down, and then I just absolutely fell in love with it. Like, that's all I wanted to do. I'd like rush home just so I could sit down and write, and it just became a part of my daily life. And ever since then, that's just what I want to do. So I've decided to quit my job in law and just focus more on that. And yeah, since then, met JM. I started writing Pariah's Lament shortly after that. That took 2 years to finish, and then that's coming out next year, St. Patrick's Day. So I've deliberately chose St. Patrick's Day for the release date, because by the time it comes out, I'm going to be fed up of marketing it and worrying about what people are going to think. So I'm just going to get completely drunk and forget about it all. Proper Irish celebration. Yeah, so that's my background in writing up to this point. And of late, I've just been focusing on marketing more than anything else, like learning as much as you can about marketing. My problem in the past has always been writing loads of stories, but not getting the readership. So that's what I've been seeking to fix, really, just growing a readership and a following, just so that people read what I'm writing. I think that's what every writer wants. So yeah, that's what I've been up to, JM.
Yeah, and as for me, I've mentioned it a lot in the past, but I started writing really young, 3rd grade, 4th grade, elementary school.
Yeah.
As a kid, I was watching a lot of the R-rated monster movies like Aliens and whatnot. So I wrote a lot of gruesome monster stories as a child, and then that just kind of carried with me. And in college, I didn't do a creative writing degree, but I was an English major, and I took some short story writing classes. And then I didn't really do anything you'd call professional until really the end of college. I wrote my first story that I submitted somewhere, and I didn't make it, but that kind of started the process. And then went into the Army for a while and forgot about writing, and then I came back and really got started writing writing a lot of short stories, and then my first attempts at longer works. So that's kind of where I came from as a writer. And I'm not good at marketing or blogging or any of that, so that's kind of, I've had to force myself to do all that. And now, like, unlike Richie, I kind of have the opposite trajectory as Richie, where was a lot more interested in writing when I in the past, and that I've kind of been getting more interested in law recently. So I work in a law office, and I've actually got an article coming out in a law journal, hopefully next year. I'm also have a master in history, so I really like researching and writing academic papers. I know I'm crazy.
No, I think that's how I actually fell in love with writing, to be honest. I when I was in university, you'd be getting essays all the time, and I just loved, like, the project of, like, analyzing something, like doing research and then writing something. And I kind of missed that when I stopped, when I finished university. So yeah, I think that was kind of what I wanted to do all along, was write, just like that creative process.
Yeah. So we've spent some time talking about the past and who we used to be, and let's move on, take this fireside chat and talk about the future of Metal and Magic Publishing. So we mentioned in the last episode that Richie and I have this new venture, our own indie press of Metal and Magic Publishing. You can find us online, and we're kind of the official sponsors of our own podcast now, I guess you could call it. But we're blessed today because the four of us here are all the core staff officers of the publisher. This is everybody right now. Well, hopefully we're going to grow in the future, but right now it's just the four of us. And I just want to take a moment to go around the room and let everybody introduce what they're working on, what their current work in progress is. We've got a lot of releases slated for next year. We've got several books lined up, and we've got it scheduled so that we're going to have about one major book coming out every month, starting in January, and then the first original of Metal and Magic novel will be yours, Richie, Pariah's Lament, in March, and several other authors have books that will be coming out. So 2021 is going to be a busy year for us, and hopefully a productive year. So I just want to take a moment to let everybody talk about what they've got coming up, and I'll start with Douglas W.T. Smith. So Doug is a content developer for Of Metal and Magic Publishing. In addition to being one of our core authors, he's working on a novel set in the core canon of Soria, amongst other things, and also developing content for the website, potentially a newsletter, a lot of other things we got going on. So yeah, Doug, just let us know what you've got going on right now.
Yeah, thanks for that, Jam. As you mentioned, I am the content developer now for Of Metal and Magic Publishing, which is something that I'm looking forward to. It's kind of something that I've been doing for a while now on my blog, offering the helpful tips and hints that I've been learning along my writing journey. So yeah, I think they'll feel quite natural and also exciting, because this is my opportunity to bring in that audience that have been following me into the Of Metal and Magic Publishing, and build that audience with this new venture that we're all about to go on. Yeah, and as you mentioned before, JM, I am working on one of the core stories, To Wield the Stars. So I do have a bit of an elevator pitch here for To Wield the Stars. Here it is. So two sisters are separated across continents from an attack of a dragon and its army. I really love the ideas of elevator pitches, because it makes you reflect on what your story is about, and it makes you really narrow in and keep that consistency throughout your story of what your core themes are. And I do have a bit of a synopsis as well. So it's kind of like the back blurb for it.
Go for it.
Yeah. Okay. So To Wield the Stars is set in Soria, a world of bloody battles, fallen empires, and a struggling dominion between the children of the gods, the dragons and unicorns. The story follows two sisters and a young man. Kira, the older sister, surrenders her position on the ship for her sister, Seluna, to make it safely across the ocean. After separating with her sister, Kira is thrown into a turmoil with dragons and unicorns, and she must follow her fate to gain allies and aid the battle between the children of the gods. Meanwhile, Seluna voyages across the ocean with a fleet of survivors and is forced to search for more people across the icy wasteland. She struggles against the unyielding elements of an inhabitable land. Faced with doubt and survival, Seluna must make a choice that will ultimately affect the course of her destiny. Meanwhile, Florian, the commander's son, struggles to accept the catastrophic events that force him to question the faith of his people and himself.
That's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's a lot going on, but there needs to be a lot of things going on, especially if we're following that episodic format with our core story. So, yeah, it was actually quite a hard synopsis to write because there is a lot going on. There is things that I've definitely left out, and I guess the viewers or the listeners will have to wait till my story gets put into the cycle of publishing, which should be following later on in the year 2021.
Yeah. Hopefully your book will be by the summer. I hope to have it out.
Yeah. Summer, your summer, spring, autumn.
Northern
autumn
Hemisphere summer.
Yeah. So you got to remember, listeners, I am in Australia. So
Yeah.
yes, it is currently summer here.
Summer for normal people. No. Yeah. May, June would be ideal, I think. Just looking at our publishing schedule, we got a lot of stuff coming out in 2021, and your book is definitely right up there at the top of the roster.
Oh, yeah, you heard it, listeners. It's
anything else?
Definitely 2021.
Anything else you have you're working on?
Yeah, so I am working on a novella which isn't part of the core story. It's called Shadow of the Wicked, and it's just a novella I've been working on just to release, to get some of my writing out for readers to have a taste of what my writing style and my storytelling style is about. So then hopefully that will entice them to read furthermore of Metal and Magic publishing, and later on in the year purchase To Wield the Stars.
Good. Thank you, Doug. And the next up, I want to introduce you all to E.A. Robbins. She is one of our authors working on a novel for next year, but she is also our social media manager, which means she deals with Twitter, Instagram, all those good things. So, EA, what do you have coming up what are you working on right now?
Jam, we got a lot of exciting things. As the new or first social media manager for of Metal and Magic Publishing, I've been setting up Twitter and Instagram. I'll also be taking over the Facebook. We're just getting it started, so working up into that double digits of followers, and really just trying to find some interesting people to connect with and network. If anybody is interested in connecting with us there, our handles on Instagram and on Twitter are both at OMAM Publishing, OMAM Publishing. Happy to answer any questions through our social media, of course.
And I think Facebook is facebook.com/of Metal and Magic. Yeah. No spaces, no underscores, just straight text of Metal and Magic.
That's correct. Yes, sir. And of course, we're available through Facebook as well. We're breaking the barriers on all of the social media. So yeah, that's really exciting, and definitely looking forward to see how we can grow that and who we can connect with. Personally, as a author of Metal and Magic, I've been working on my novel, Scion of the Oracle, and this story actually comes at the very end of our Soria story arc. So while a lot of the other authors are focusing towards the mid,
we have some that are like Middle Ages, and then myself and Doug are more in the ancient period.
Okay.
And then yours is more modern, as we call it.
Right. And mine's kind of set at like the end of our modern era. Like this is kind of kind of like I guess a capstone to it. This is at least kickstarting the end
of the time periods that we're covering for our world here. And my story begins where my short story Hauntings left off. And Hauntings was published in our Ancient Heritage collection, just a little taster of what we're offering in our Soria stories. And Hauntings was focused on, wow, I don't want to give too much away. Hauntings was focused on an assassin who goes missing. And this is where Scion of the Oracle begins. My main characters, they are sent after this missing assassin. They get tangled up in some secret societies. They uncover a much larger plot that is seeking to bring some magic back into Soria. So hopefully that's not, I don't think that's giving too much away. Hopefully that's a little taster.
No, I think that's good. I think we talked about in the past, between you and I, we kind of worked out. So in addition to all these different novels, so like you said, the story arc of the universe. So like the world of Soria, we've gone back and we've got a creation myth, and we've got the ancient period novels and the Middle Ages novels, and now these modern novels. And I think you and I have talked about, like, where is that going? There is an end to the arc of the shared universe, and I think your stories kind of are prompting that conclusion.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what it's leading to. And just working on this end of our storyverse, it's really fun to kind of connect all the pieces and parts that everybody else is working on, and kind of see it, manifest, and see it kind of in a mature form, I guess. See what everything you guys are writing becomes during my timeline, or my current portion of the Soria world.
Is there anything else that you're working on?
Separately from Oman, I am working on a short story that I'm hoping to publish in the next few months, a historical fantasy fiction, which is not less complicated really than our Soria storyverse. I have a main character who is an animal shifter, who is also a Russian KGB agent during World War II. Specifically 1948. It's set in Berlin during the Berlin blockade, and she's been tasked with helping to, I'm not sure how to say this.
Without spoiling it.
Yeah, exactly. She's got to help the Russians out, and end the blockade.
More to follow on that. I'm sure.
Right.
Well, thank you. And then next up we have Richie Billing, who you know, but what you might not know is he is now officially our Chief of Marketing. Yeah, probably not a big surprise. Tell us what you've got coming up, Richie. What are you working on?
Yeah, so Pariah's Lament, like I mentioned before, that is going to be the focus now for the next few months, just promoting this. So at the moment I'm giving away a few limited advanced reader copies. So if you would like to be in with a chance of getting one of them copies, head over to my website, richiebilling.com, and so just join my mailing list, and you automatically qualify for the competition. So yeah.
And if I can jump in real quick, if any of you out there are book reviewers, if you do book reviews on your blog or on a website or something, you can always reach out to us through our website contact form and request copies of the books we have coming up if you want to do reviews for us.
Most definitely. So we were chatting before. Douglas mentioned elevator pitches, and I'm awful at them. I end up like just waffling for too long and putting people off the book. So recently I've been trying to think of like nicer, easier ways of describing what Pariah's Lament is about. Basically, if you like big medieval battles, there's loads of them. If you like lots of political intrigue, a bit like Game of Thrones, there's lots of that as well. And the characters in this are very much underdogs, and that's what I absolutely love, is like an underdog story. And these two particular characters who the story follows, they've just been written off by society. They've got no purpose in life. They're just really depressed and fed up with things. And I think the reason why I decided to write characters like this is because it's a big problem for a lot of people my age and people younger than me and generations to come as well, is that we have this pressure to decide what we want to do and with the rest of our lives, and many of us just don't know what we want to do. We sort of, society leads us down a path, like go to university, get a graduate job, get a mortgage, start a family. Like that's just the path that you sort of encouraged to follow. But a lot of people now are starting to wake up and think, well, I don't really want to do that. And when you sort of in that situation, you don't really know what to do. And that is a big problem for a lot of people at the moment. They're not too sure what they want to do. And these two characters in Pariah's Lament are in that situation, and they find purpose in life, and they find something to drive them, and something that captures the imaginations and the hearts. And basically they've got to save the day, and that is the purpose, to save the people that they've grown really close to and attached to. And yeah, I loved writing it. I loved the characters, and when I finished writing it, I was really sad that they weren't going to be a part of my life anymore. So I'm hoping that's a good sign. Only 2 people have read the book so far, so I am a bit apprehensive about what everyone's going to think. But yeah, we'll see what happens. And then we were talking before as well about new projects, like part of the problem I had after Pariah Lament was like, what am I going to do now? I've spent 2 years doing this. I don't know what to do next. And I had a few ideas for like a fantasy novel, so I started writing that, and then I wasn't really feeling it. And in the end, I decided to write more of like a police crime thriller, which is another genre I like very much, but it's got a lot of fantasy elements to it as well, and it's set in my hometown. So for this one, it's a story that I want people like my friends and my family. It's a story I want them to enjoy, because not everyone likes fantasy. A lot of people I know. So I'd rather decide I'm going to write a story for them. Was sort of balancing it with stuff that I like as well, monsters and demons and all that kind of shit, or stuff. I have to swear, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting 2021, and something else I'm launching as well as a writing course. So I've always believed for a long time is that everybody should write, even if it's like journaling and just writing a few ideas, a few observations from the day, even just a few little lines of things. I think everybody should write. There's a real therapeutic benefit to it. It's helped me a lot over the years, like come to terms with things or reflect on things or process things that you just ignore. So there is that really powerful therapeutic element to it, and I think that everyone should benefit from that and just do a little bit of writing every day. But a lot of people, it's something that they want to do, but they don't have the structure, the sort of the guidance, and that's what this is all about. It's called Project Anthology, and it's designed to lead people through a nice, easy writing project, which can last anywhere from a few months up to a year, and it's designed to be done with as little or as much time as possible. And it's just writing one short story a month, and completing a project of an anthology of 12 stories, which obviously then guides you through making a book cover and publishing and then promoting to the world. So you'll learn absolutely everything you need to know to start a writing career, and do it at your own pace in a really accessible and structured way. So fingers crossed that goes well.
Yeah, sounds good.
So it's going to be busy, and then we've got all the stuff with the publisher as well. So yeah, it's going to be a big year, 2021. But bring it on.
So I guess that leaves me. So
Yeah, tell us what have you got going on, Jim? It's been a busy year for you this year as well, and lots to
yeah,
come as well next year.
I've taken on the mantle of editor in chief of Metal and Magic Publishing, which means that I get to clean up everybody's manuscripts and format them and get everything on KDP and all that jazz. A lot of work.
Everyone's favorite jobs.
Yeah. But I like editing. I guess I'm kind of a technical person, which is why I like legal writing.
Yeah.
So editing comes natural to me, and I know a lot of it. I've learned a lot of it. Things like a lot of things that a lot of authors just little nuances that they don't know, like comma usage and stuff like that I just know well. I didn't I look at my stuff. So one of the things I'm working on is preparing a second edition re-release of my book Call of the Guardian, which was the first Soria core of Metal and Magic novel to be published by our previous publisher. So we're taking that book. I'm revising it, updating it, getting new book covers, adding our OMAM branding, and we're going to publish that again. So just looking through that book that I wrote 2 years ago, I've noticed like things like comma usage and stuff that I wasn't as good as I am now 2 years ago, 2 years from then. So that book, the elevator pitch is, it's about a group of young people who are, their village is caught up in kind of feudal warfare of the ancient time. And the lead character is the last of the Order of Guardians, magical warriors, and he's got to lead his friends to fight back and defend their home. And that book is inspired by the old Hercules and Xena TV shows. So when we were starting out with this episodic structure that we sometimes use, I was really thinking in terms of TV and TV episodes, and so a lot of the chapters in that book have the heroes going to these villages, and they have to resolve the problem that village is facing, episode by episode. But there's a underlying plot that carries everything forward to the end.
Yeah.
So that one's being re-released, and then the one I'm working on right now, the one that I'm actually writing, I'm about 75-80% done with the first draft, is called The Fierce. And this is the story of a mythical character in our core canon, Gain the Fierce. And this character gets mentioned a lot in other people's books, because this character is like a very, very well-known mythical figure in the world. Through the modern setting, he's kind of like the Hercules of Soria. Everybody knows the name, and everybody knows some of the stories about this character, but we don't know what is true, what is the real story, what's the real myth. And so the book that I'm working on is a very interestingly configured book. It's like half epistolary novel and half myth.
Yeah.
So part of the book is these letters that are written from in the modern time of our time frame. So as E.A. Robbins mentioned, her story takes place in the most recent period of our narrative, of our kind of universal narrative, the modern period. And then the myth part of the Fierce takes place at the opposite end, the most ancient period. But also the book features these letters that are written by an academic in the modern period as he is translating the Gain the Fierce myth.
Yeah.
So you have his letters, and he's got his own, plot and narrative and character arc. And then you have the myth, and I borrowed for the myth part of it. I borrowed a lot from Homer in terms of voice and style. It's not epic verse, but the use of epitaphs and just a kind of that archaic voice and structure with heroes, multiple heroes, and things like that. So you have these two different narratives that are kind of overwoven together, and then you have this upper layer of meta, this meta layer of the academic interacting with the myth and translating things, and there's footnotes. Everybody loves footnotes. So it's a very complex. It's the most complex thing I've ever written, and hopefully it works. But that's the big thing that I'm working on, in addition to just getting the publisher up and running.
Busy, man. So I don't know where we're going to find all the time to do all this. But...
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I have more things to do than I have time to do it. So I definitely have to what's triage my projects.
Yeah. Sensible. But,
that about wraps it up for today. We want to thank E.A. Robbins and Douglas W.T. Smith for joining us and giving us some background on what they're doing for Of Metal and Magic Publishing. And thank everybody who's been following the podcast.
Yeah, it's been, when we started this podcast, it was this year, was about March or April. We had absolutely no expectations for what it was gonna be like. We just thought it's something we'd try and hope that people would find it useful. And it's blows me away how much it's caught on. Like, we've got so many followers now, and getting messages from people asking me when the next episode is going to be out, and asking us for requests and cover this, cover that, and it's crazy, to be honest. And we're just so thrilled that you've all found it so useful and helpful, and that's why we keep doing it, and we will keep doing it if you're all enjoying it so much. So thank you so much for listening this year, and we've only just scratched the surface, really. It feels like we've covered a lot already, but there's still so much yet to do. So 2021 is going to be a big year for the podcast.
Yeah, we've only done about 20-ish episodes this year, which, I mean, it really isn't that much. We only put out a couple every month, but we've covered some pretty significant topics, right? Like world building, magic systems. We've done a bunch of interviews.
Yeah, that's some great guests on. So it's just gonna be, just keep bringing you what we've done this so far this year. It's I really enjoy doing these, and I just get so much satisfaction from knowing that everyone enjoys them. So yeah, keep bringing it on.
And then, of course, end of the year. So we want to wish everybody, happy holidays. We know this year has not been very good for a lot of reasons. We hope that, whether you're a reader or a writer, you've had time to enjoy your hobby, and that's helped get through this crazy year of 2020. And we've got a lot of things to look forward in 2021, and we hope you all do too. And it's the holiday season, so hopefully everyone has time to at least, Zoom chat with their family and have that time. Happy holidays to everybody. Yeah,
most definitely. I've just genuinely wish you the happiest of Christmases, and let's hope 2021 is a lot better than 2020, because I think we're all fed up.
And as always, if you want us to deal with a specific, topic next year, if you just want to send us a message about the podcast and what you like about it, leave a message in the YouTube feed, or send us a message on Facebook, or all the other ways that you can communicate with us, including the Of Metal and Magic Publishing website now, which hosts this podcast.
Yeah. So if you want to send us a message, just head over to ofmetalandmagicpublishing.wordpress.com, and then just click the podcast option at the top of the page, and send us a message.
Thank you for listening, and have a happy holidays and happy new year, everyone.